So phase 4 of the MCU has come to an end. This has been a very different and experimental phase. For me, I have enjoyed some of it, and I haven't loved all of it to the point where I haven't seen all the projects in it. So in this video, I'm going to rank all the movies here, but I have not seen all the shows. I have not even started watching Miss Marvel or She-Hulk, and I have not finished Moon Knight. I just wasn't enjoying these shows as much as I would like to. Yes, there were some things with the shows I liked. I really liked Falcon Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, and Loki, but actually WandaVision wasn't too bad. I enjoyed that one quite a bit, but stuff like What If didn't really connect with me, and obviously Moon Knight. So I've only seen the movies, so of course I'm just going to make a video where I talk about the movies, not talk about some of the shows that I haven't seen, obviously, but I'm going to go in release order here, although you can probably tell by this what my ranking would be. I'll put stuff that I like more before the other ones in this whole tier list. This tier list will be linked down below if you guys want to use it. But starting off, we have Black Widow, and I remember when Black Widow came out, and it was the first MCU movie I'd seen since Ant-Man where I didn't watch it in the theater, and that may have taken away from it a bit, although I do really like this movie. I'm going to put it in the B category. Now, I think all of these movies except No Way Home I've only seen once, and a lot of these are in the theater. This one I was able to watch at home. My friend bought it on Disney Plus, so I just used her account. She let me use her account, and I watched it, and I like it. I think it is an enjoyable, fun movie with some nice heart to it as well. The cast is great. Florence Pugh, David Harbour, of course Scarlett Johansson, but the villain of Taskmaster does suck, and there are lots of moments here that really do not stick with me. There isn't a lot about this movie that I'm like, oh, I love this, I love that, I love that. It's just like, yeah, I enjoyed it, and definitely watching it at home would take away from that a bit, and only seeing it once, obviously. So I recommend this movie because I do think it's good. It just really isn't one of the best, but it's also not one of the worst MCU movies. I've seen people give it lots of shit recently, and I just don't get it. Next up, we have ShangChi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. This movie, I really, really like. I'm going to put it in the B tier as well, but just keep in mind, this is like a high B tier because I think this film is awesome. I almost rewatched it again before this video, but I was like, you know what? I'll keep it even for most of them, obviously, with No Way Home, but I rewatched that a while ago. And ShangChi is a really great film, a great way to introduce this character and, let's just say, fix some mistakes that the MCU had made in the past with other characters. You guys know what I'm talking about. The visuals are gorgeous here. Maybe sometimes it can be a little bit too CGI heavy battle, all that kind of stuff. But Simu Liu, I think that's how you say his name, is awesome here. I'm sorry if I said it wrong. He is awesome. I love him as a celebrity. I've seen so many videos of him, and he is just so charismatic and enjoyable in this role. And the villain is just so awesome. The whole story about family, not like Fast and Furious, don't worry, but just the importance of it and how it can fall apart in a different way and some of the consequences that come with it. I really love this film, and I've been dying to rewatch again, and now that I'm talking about it, I kind of want to rewatch it more. Next up, we have Eternals. Now, a film that not everybody loves, and I am one of them. Eternals will go in the C tier here. It is not a bad movie. It just really isn't that great. It is way too grand for its own right. Like, it really tried to be massive, and yes, it's a gorgeous looking movie. Chloe Zhao did a great job with the direction. The cinematography is gorgeous, except it's not really that interesting, and it feels a lot longer than it is. And these characters, although some of the lead ones can be interesting, some of the side ones are totally forgotten for me. I don't remember a lot of the character names, and I think that really says something when it comes to movies. If you have a big group of people and I can only pick out like a few of like, oh yeah, I know your name, but not really the rest, I think that says something here. I watched it once in theaters, and I really don't plan on watching it again unless I'm doing like a big MCU watch through. But there was nothing with this movie that draws me to it. Again, antagonist wise, there really isn't any sort of connection there. And as much as I like Chloe Zhao and I like a lot of the actors in this movie, and I think people like Richard Madden are very good, I really felt a big distance between myself and this movie. It's gorgeous, it looks great, it sounds great, there are moments in it that are really awesome, but overall, it isn't as good as a lot of people make it out to be. Now, next up, we have the most fun one to talk about, and of course, my personal favorite from Phase 4. We have Spider-Man No Way Home, one of the biggest movies probably of all time, or at least of the past few years for sure. This movie was an event, and yes, I have seen it more than once, as I said before, so I'm not only sticking to the crazy excitement of seeing it in the theater, which of course I loved, and it was just so much fun, but I did watch this movie again. I've heard a lot of people say that takes away from it, and maybe it takes away from like the excitement, but I still think this is a very, very well-made movie. Yes, you are waiting for the other Spider-Man, and no, I'm not going to give a spoiler warning. I think this is kind of obvious at this point, but really all the villains here are interesting. They fix, again, as I kind of mentioned with Shang-Chi, they fix some of the mistakes with some of the past characters, not in the MCU, but when it comes to the Amazing Spider-Man characters, and just giving some of them a whole new arc and stuff like that when it comes to Green Goblin or even Doc Ock. I mean, I just loved it, and I've always loved Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I know that people have been shitting on it. Some people think it's the greatest thing ever. Some people think it's awful. I've always thought it was really great, and seeing all these Spider-Man on screen, of course, was awesome, but the film has so much heart to it. It has so many deeper themes, and the grief and loss and all this stuff. Just, I really liked how this one was still able to handle all the crazy expectations and the excitement of the other characters, other Spider-Man, other villains, all that stuff, but still in itself be a solid, be a great movie. Come on, let's be honest. Now we enter into 2022's films. We start that off with Multiverse of Madness. This is another one that I would like to go back and rewatch, because when I saw it in the theaters, I really enjoyed it, and that's why it is going on the B tier here. I think this movie is a lot better than people give it credit for. I know a lot of people aren't really a big fan of this movie, and yes, there are plenty of problems here, but I found a very unique connection to it. And I know I've said that a lot in this video, but I always find that really important when it comes to movies or shows or anything, when you personally can find a connection here. And again, it's Sam Raimi and his amazing direction and visuals that really made me love this movie. But of course, there are some moments, one in particular that I did not expect at all, that still, when I think about it, makes me go a little bit crazy. I just love that. But yes, it should have been much longer. It was hyped up to be something almost as big as Endgame. Not quite, but something of that level, and did deliver on that? Not exactly, but I still think in and of itself, it has great storytelling at moments, and of course all the performances are great. The visuals are gorgeous and mind-bending. Again, this is another one that I'd really like to go back and rewatch to see how my feelings change, because I know some people watched it again and found what Sam Raimi or everybody else was kind of going for, and then some other people watch it again and it takes away a lot of what they liked. So I think this is a good movie. I think that thinking back on it, I start to enjoy it even more, but I've never been on the side that doesn't like this movie. I just don't really understand that. It's a solid movie overall, not amazing, not bad, just kind of middle of the road. I'm actually going to switch those two because I do like Multiverse of Madness more. I forgot I was placing it like that. Now we have Thor, Love and Thunder. Unfortunately, this is going on the C tier, lower than Eternal somehow. Talk about a disappointing movie. When I walked out of the theater, I was so sad. I really wanted to love this movie. I love Ragnarok. I love Christian Bale. I love Chris Hemsworth. I love Taika Waititi. But holy, this was a disappointment. I went in with reasonable expectations that this was not going to be as great as Ragnarok or anything, but I really did not like this movie all that much. Maybe some scenes here and there were fun. It looks good. I like the black and white kind of meshed together scenes towards the end, but the humor falls flat. The characters really feel just one note, and it's, again, way too short, and there's no real tension, and Christian Bale is completely wasted here. He is great in the movie, and, Chris Hemsworth, all of them, Natalie Portman, they're all great in the movie, but it's the writing that really stunk in this movie, and I hate saying that because I love Taika Waititi. I love him, and I love almost all of his movies, so when you come off of Ragnarok as well, and then you come off of Endgame and you're trying to fix some of the Fat Thor stuff, it's like, okay, I get that's kind of a challenge, but this movie, again, is way too short, completely wastes Gore, the God Butcher, who was such an interesting character and had scenes that were great. And I have to say that, is that this movie did have scenes that were great overall, but I will never forget the feeling of walking out of this and just feeling so disappointed. I did not enjoy my time with this one. I do not plan on going back and watching it anytime soon. I was just like, wow, how is this almost to the level of Thor: The Dark World? I don't know how it got there, but for me it did. And finally, with the MCU movies, we have Wakanda Forever, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, I should say. And I'm not 100% sure on where I'm placing this. For now, I'm going to put it in the B tier right below Shang-Chi, but these two could be moved around. Now, I didn't review this movie, as I said, because I watched it late Friday night, because this movie is almost 3 hours long. Keep that in mind. So my brother and I drove out and tried to watch an 8 o'clock showing. That one was completely sold out because we didn't get tickets. So we went to another theater and found a 9 o'clock showing, and then essentially left the theater by about midnight. So I watched it late that night and then worked both the Saturday and Sunday, very, very long hours. And here we are. I thought, I'm going to make this video anyway. Why not throw it together? I really like this movie. I think this movie is really good. I don't think I like it more than the first one, although I started to watch the first one before this, but I just didn't have enough time. So I watched like a quarter of it, but that first one is very solid as well. So, it could go back and forth. But anyway, talking about Wakanda Forever, it is way too long. It should not be this long, although, yes, the themes of loss and grief and the way it's dealt with in this movie is really great. And the villain here is awesome. One of the best MCU villains we've had in quite a while, very fleshed out. You understand his point of view, and you see how he's kind of held as this big, grand god in a way, different from Gore the God Butcher. I just find that funny that we're just talking about that. But the problem with this movie is that, yes, first off, it doesn't have T'Challa or Black Panther, so that already throws it for a bit of a hardship. But you have all these previous side characters and you're trying to bring them forward. At times, it can work with some people like Shuri. I really liked a lot of the stuff they did with her. But some of these other characters and subplots were not that interesting. And there are characters in this movie that I will not mention, not even like spoiler-wise. I just don't want to be specific if you haven't seen the movie. But there are times in this 2 hour and 41-minute movie where, of course, I was just really not that entertained. And maybe it was because I was seeing it so late, but I was just sitting there like, oh, can we please move on to something interesting? I mean, this movie is longer than Infinity War. There is no reason this should be longer than Infinity War. That doesn't make any sense to me. Yes, there are some amazing moments though. And again, I really like this movie. I think this movie is really good. And maybe it doesn't sound like I liked it that much, but everybody was kind of saying this is the best tribute to Chadwick Boseman. And in my personal opinion, there were scenes where it was a great tribute to him, but as a movie overall, I appreciate that they tried to make it stand on its own, but I didn't really see the whole tribute thing. I mean, with the Marvel text and all that stuff, and certain parts of the movie, I really found that, like the opening and stuff like that, I found that, but as a whole movie, I just didn't really find the Chadwick appreciation and love and just like shout outs to him. I mean, of course he's great, and just watching back some of these clips that are even shown in this movie, it really makes me miss him and stuff. But I know the task is so hard in and of itself, but yes, this movie did feel like it was lacking something, and that was a strong lead character. Now, all the performances, though, are amazing, and there are many moments, especially when dealing with grief and loss and focusing on that, where it is great, and it's so well written. I thought Ryan Coogler did a great job with it. It was just some of the unfortunate events that happened before that, definitely took away from this movie and what it would have been maybe a few years ago, and I'm not blaming anybody for that, but in the end, I really enjoy it. I think that the action scenes are pretty great overall, maybe not as exciting as I wanted them to be towards the end. It just kind of does build it to the classic MCU big bad battle with big groups and stuff like that, which I never mind. I always enjoy watching really get in the way and take away my full attention and just love for this movie. So if you watched this one and really enjoyed it, I'm glad, because I really liked it, and I know it doesn't exactly sound like that. I did really enjoy this movie, and I would recommend it to any Black Panther fan or any MCU fan, because everybody is kind of taking different things from the movie. And you could say, maybe I didn't understand some stuff, and I'd say, you're right. What do you mean by that? Like, it's a movie that I really want to talk about more with other people, and I would definitely like to watch again, just not anytime soon, because of those scenes that are in there that I really did not find all that interesting. I really like the action scenes. I liked how they took some of these side characters before and brought them to the center here and tried to give them more of an arc. And for some characters that worked really well, like Shuri, as I said. Other characters, not so much. Other characters had scenes where they were great, but overall did not really leave as much of an impact as I wanted it to leave. So yes, this movie is very good, but it also has a lot of problems that I feel like people just aren't seeing because they're so surrounded by the hype of how are they going to like a Black Panther movie without Black Panther. And the ending is very good, and especially the mid-credit scene is just beautiful here. But anyway, that is my thoughts on Wakanda Forever, as well as the ranking of the Phase 4 MCU movies. But anyway, what do you think of this phase of the MCU? For me, it was probably my least favorite because obviously I have not watched all the projects in it because some of them really did not connect with me. I know some of these opinions are unpopular. Just remember, I like all the movies in the B tier. I really like Wakanda Forever. It may not have sounded like that, and I know that disliking some of these movies is very bad, and liking some of these is also awful because, you know, it's the internet and we can't have our own opinions. But thank you all for watching. I will see you guys next time. Over and out.